Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We are here today at this reception to pay tribute to those people who made sure this World War II memorial was built. Now, the best part about this reception is that we are now inside. Because it got a little warm out there, I'm here to tell you. We could not have built this Oregon World War II memorial without the assistance of our state legislature, both the House and the Senate, because this is a completely nonpartisan issue. There was no partisan politics involved that I saw, and I'm sure there wasn't. And we have a couple of people here today to speak on behalf of those bodies. And the first one that I will ask to do that this afternoon, I'm having a heat stroke, I think, is our wonderful Senate President, one of the strongest supporters of veterans I know, because I used to be the Director of Veterans Affairs, so I would know that. So please welcome the President of the Oregon State Senate, Senate President Peter Courtney.
Where's Robin? All right. We've had remarks today from a variety of people. I want to recognize the former governor, Theodore Ralph Kulongoski, who in 2010, working then with the legislature, that set in motion the possibility to do what we have done here today. And then that was followed up by the 2010 legislature, which contributed over $250,000 to this project. The reason that's important, in this day and age of partisanship, if you watch this Oregon legislature for the last 10 to 15 years and before, they probably have done more as a legislative body than the other body when it comes to veterans. We don't do Democrat, Republican. We don't do urban, we don't do rural, we don't do small towns and cities. We do not do that. What we do is we've done it together over and over and over again. Today is one of the culminations of those things, although we have also done a variety of things for others as well. In terms of down the street, we helped develop the memorial for the Afghanistan-Iraqi Memorial Freedom. But let me tell you something that's strange about today. I think the gods are watching out for me, because I got a call early this week from an individual named Steve Dole, Crime Victims United. Now, it scared me when I got the call, because Steve Dole is basically the strongest advocate in the great state of Oregon for crime victims. He's also one of the greatest guardians of the criminal justice system. But he often doesn't agree with me. And he lets me know how strongly he feels about it. And I was worried. But he leaves me a message on my phone that he wants me to meet his father, who's here, and his uncle, who was here earlier down there, because they're World War II veterans, and they're coming. His father is 91 years old. His uncle is 96 years old. His father is Edward Dole. Where's Edward? Have him stand up. Would you have him stand up, Ed Dole? Where's Ed? Ed, stand up. Stand up, Ed. Is Ed Dole? Get up, Ed. The uncle, now you're going to hear this story. The uncle had to leave, who was 96. This is the story. And telling the story about these two, perhaps that says more about today and tomorrow and where we've been as a people. Now, as I said, we have Ed. Ed's the father. Ed entered the service through Tunisia, North Africa, in 1943. He was 18 years old. Now, he landed on Utah Beach, D-Day +1, which means 70 years from tomorrow is when he landed on Utah Beach. He later served in the Signal Corps and the famous Third Army, which was, of course, General Patton headed up and he served in that army in the Great Battle of the Bulge. When he left the service, he was a staff sergeant. Joseph Meyer was the uncle that had the lead. He was 96. He served in the Army Air Force in the Pacific. He served in one of those flying fortresses as a bombardier. He flew many dangerous missions over Japan. When he would leave the service, he would be a first lieutenant. I got the pleasure of meeting Ed. I did not meet Joseph Meyer, and I regret that. Now, here's the situation. Ed, in a speech he gave on Memorial Day a few years ago, he would quote two generals. The first general he would quote was General Marshall. General Marshall is one of the famous generals to come out of the First World War. In the early days of that war, we weren't really doing too good. Pearl Harbor and other, we were having struggles. And they asked General Marshall, do you have some kind of secret weapon to win this war? As though you better, because we got troubles. And you know what he said? This is what he said. Yeah, I got a secret weapon, because I got the best darn kids in the world. That's what he said, what his secret weapon was. Senator Edward Dole and Lieutenant Joseph Meyer were two of those best darn kids in the world who marched into and flew into the Great War that, of course, saved the world and preserved our freedom. Today, Oregon forever on one of its most precious patches of land, the state park surrounding this capital, acknowledges and honors and salutes what they and so many others did. As they looked at the names of the Oregonians who died in battle that are on the wall, I'm reminded of another quote that Ed Dole gave on that memorial speech so many years ago. This time it was from his general, General Patton, who said the following: "It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." Today, we have honored the sacrifice of those who died, the courage of those who served, and the resolve of the entire nation and our state in some of the world's darkest hours. This is a great day for Oregon. This is a great day for Oregon's people. And we owe all to all those best darn kids and the greatest generation who served in the greatest team effort the world has ever seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Courtney. Remember, I told you this was nonpartisan, and I meant it. The senator's a great guy, but he's a Democrat. The next guy is also a great guy, and he's a Republican. I told you it was nonpartisan. So, a member of the House of Representatives, Representative McLean, has served with great honor in the legislature, but he is still a serving officer in the Oregon National Guard. So we got him both ways. So if he doesn't do what we like, we'll talk to the general and he'll take care of it. Please welcome House Member McLean for his remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the House of Representatives, I want to thank everyone who made this day happen. The men and women who fought the war, stateside and abroad. Your generation is going to be remembered in the way in which the great generations of history are. And it's appropriate for us to have dedicated today in this memorial to you. And I think you all know how much we appreciate what you did for us, because we get to serve in this legislature and we get to be free to enjoy days like this because you saved the Republic. And I know every so often a generation has to stand up and go to war. And I hope that our children and our children's children and so on don't have to do what you had to do. But you paid a price, and today we get to enjoy a beautiful day and a celebration. For those who donated money, thank you. We're going to take great care to honor your contribution at this memorial. One thing I'd like to at least recognize is that in the book of Joshua, they were commanded to take 12 stones and place them in the new land. And it was said in the book of Joshua, in the scriptures, to place those 12 stones so that your children and their children's children will ask of you, why these stones? And you will tell them on that day what God did for you, how he delivered you out of Egypt by his hand. And so today we have dedicated stones, a memorial befitting of your honor. It's not only for our generation to honor yours, but for our children and our children's children. 50 years from now, 100 years from now, that they will ask and say, why is this here? And we will tell them of your dedication, because we will never forget the price that it takes to maintain a free republic. This building in your memorial has been given into our care, and someday, hopefully, I don't know when, Peter will outlast all of us, but sooner or later, Peter and I and Representative Parrish and others will hand off the privilege to serve to the next representative and senator, and so on and so on and so on. But the one thing we pledge today is we will never forget, and we will charge the House and we will charge the Senate to say, whatever year you take this privilege, know this, that is to remind our children of the cost of freedom. So thank you for all you did on behalf of the House of Representatives, and I know from my heart, from Representative Parrish, Representative Thatcher, and the others who serve, we thank you. Thank you for the privilege that we have today. And may God bless our efforts, this state, and our republic. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative McLean. When I retired just over a year ago from the Department of Veterans Affairs, the question, of course, became, after 10 years, who will lead the agency? And I looked at the governor, and I was very serious when I said, I don't care. I'm leaving. No, of course I didn't say that. I told the governor that I thought there was a perfect person waiting to serve. And as it turned out, that's exactly what we got. We got a Marine Corps officer who served 3 combat tours in Iraq. He knew what it was like to go to war, and he knew what it was like to serve on the home front. But what he probably doesn't know I'm going to say about him today is this. It comes in his family, because he is, after all, the great-grandson of Admiral Chester Nimitz, of 5-star Admiral Chester Nimitz of World War II fame. And the only thing I wonder about his great-grandfather is if he wondered about the branch of service. But I think my answer to his great-grandfather would be this. He couldn't get in the Navy, so he joined the Marine Corps. You know, we kid about that. I'm kidding, just so everybody knows. But in all seriousness, I want to tell you, I'd like to welcome a young man that I'm extremely proud of. Please welcome the Director of the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, Cameron Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my great-grandfather, Admiral Nimitz, and both of my grandfathers all served in the Navy in the Pacific, and they are most definitely rolling over in their grave that I am a United States Marine. It has been my honor and privilege to take over as Director of the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, and for the last year I've been trying to get Jim to take up fishing or golfing or something. But he has been a powerful advocate on this World War II memorial, started under Governor Kulongoski's administration, under Jim's watch. And what was powerful for me today at the ceremony, having my 2-year-old daughter, Frankie, the latest generation of our American citizens, knowing that they will grow up knowing what this greatest generation has done for us. But we heard all the remarks today about this greatest generation, but for me, this memorial also speaks to the Vietnam generation. President Lou Jaffe, in the early days of this work, raised $1.2 million with the help of the legislature, with the help of businessmen like Dick Whitnell, who did an amazing video for such a powerful issue. There was some struggles getting this ball moving, and Lou Jaffe, who served in Vietnam on that fundraising effort, was critical. Jim Willis originating the idea, getting the task force and the organization going, and then Mr. Bob Plame on the construction side, along with Tim from Oregon Memorials. But all three of those gentlemen served in Vietnam, did not receive that welcome home in their own time, not only catching our most recent veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, but looking backwards and honoring those previous generations. And we continue to move forward. We are serving 4 generations of veterans across 5 major wars, and it is just a powerful statement of support from this community, this honor and recognition, but then also moving the needle on those core outcomes of healthcare, education, and employment for our veterans. So thank you all for your time, your support, and dedication. And I want to call out Grover as well with the Elks, early supportive and an incredible, I won't even call him a lobbyist, an advocate, working these halls and pushing this ball forward. But thank you all for being here, and God bless. Thanks.
Now I'd like to introduce the president of the Oregon World War II Memorial Foundation and my friend, fellow Vietnam veteran Lou Jaffe. Lou, as you're making your way up here, which means start walking this way, I would like Ted Lister also to start making his way up here. Ted Lister, you may remember, gave a very moving commemorative poem during our ceremony today. And Ted has a presentation that he wants to make to Lou Jaffe and I think someone else, if I remember correctly. And Ted, I'm really trying to get this moved along here, buddy. There he is. Okay.
Stick it up behind you, Jim.
No problem. Ted,
Gotcha.
Ted, come on up. I got your back. Make your presentation.
Thank you. I wanted to do something for the 2 guys that I really was involved with the memorial. I couldn't do framed copies of the poem for everybody that was on the board and everybody that was involved, but specifically to Lou, you put your heart and soul into this thing. And if I can, there. Anyway, I'd like you to have this. And Tim Brownlee, where are you, Tim? It was your hands and your mind that put it all together and made it work, and I appreciate it very much. It was an honor to meet you. I thank you very much for what you guys have done. I really mean that. For the rest of you, if you would like some copies, there are some signed copies of the poem in the back there. If you'd like to have some, there's a few there, and help yourselves. Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed meeting Ted a lot, and I think I'm the only Democrat he knows, right?
Well, the only one I admit to, anyway.
You know, there are a lot of people that really had their shoulder into this project for a number of years, and I'm going to give them all due credit, because a lot of credit's due. But before I do that, I do want to read a letter that addressed to all of us from Senator Bob Dole that sends his best wishes. Dear Lou and the board of the Oregon Memorial Foundation, my thoughts and best wishes are with you and all those who gathered today for the dedication ceremony of the Oregon World War II Memorial. Special congratulations to all those who donated their time, talent, and treasure to make today possible. When World War II ended, the generation of Americans that defeated the forces of the tyrant neither asked for nor expected a memorial. They came home. They went to work. And they built a nation that remains the world's most powerful example of democracy and freedom in action. Many heroes from that great conflict, including over 3,700 Oregonians, did not return home. They didn't live to see the fruits of their sacrifice. Tens upon tens of thousands of Oregonians who served in uniform, including my friend and late colleague Mark Hatfield, did not live to see this memorial completed. You built this memorial as we built the National World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. in their memory. You build it so future generations of Oregonians will never forget what the World War II generation was called to do. You build it so we will never forget the cost of freedom. God bless America, Bob Dole. I've had the distinct privilege of working with and meeting with and crying with a number of people who, again, had their shoulders against this, for moving this project forward for a number of years. Jim Willis, the vice chair, whom you've met, A.J. Allen, our board secretary, worked tirelessly behind the scenes, doing a lot of stuff that no one else would do. Bob Plame, Bob's the project manager, the guy that is most responsible for the design and completely responsible for the construction. And if you like what you see, as many people do, please give your best wishes to Bob, because he deserves it. He really does. In alphabetical order, Tim Brunlewey. Tim was our primary contractor, one of the presidents, the president of Oregon Memorials, our principal contractor, best granite guy I've ever known, and a heck of a human being, Tim Brunlewey. Chuck Ferguson, fabulous guy, lent us his wisdom. And again, I want to say that every one of these people, every one of them, made some contribution either in money, contacts, energy, leadership, every one of them. Lieutenant Colonel Alicia Hamill, who may not be with us right now. She may be with us right now. It's been absolutely terrific. Jack Himes. Jack made some key contacts for us. You know, again, all these folks were out working and plugging and, you know, whatever it takes to get money in the door. Jack was great at it. Same with Jerry Lorang. Where's Jerry? Jerry worked tirelessly and with a great passion to make sure that the people of the state of Oregon really knew that this memorial was taking place. Colonel Mary Mayer. Colonel Mayer stepped up when we needed her most. She was terrific. We really appreciate it. And lastly, Cameron Smith, who you just met. All these folks were absolutely terrific, and I can guarantee you we would not be here today without the efforts of all of them. Our honorary board members, Governor Kitzhaber, former Governor Ted Kulongoski, Bob Maxwell, who were introduced to before, Leonard DeWitt. Leonard was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross in the Pacific. Art Sorensen. Art was with the 104th Timberwolf Division. Bill Markham, who was introduced to you earlier, may not be with us right now. Jerry Frank, Oregon's first citizen. Kerry Timchuk, Executive Director of the Oregon Historical Society, was a great help. I'm not sure if he's here. Kurt Loop, Major General, U.S. Army, retired. And lastly, Major Raymond Reese. Now, there were several honorary board members that could not be with us today. Barbara Roberts, former Governor of Vicatia, Senators Wyden and Merkley, Congress Representatives Blumenauer, Suzanne Bonamici, and lastly, Art Jackson, a World War II veteran and Medal of Honor recipient that lives in Idaho. Now, there's one other honorary board member that needs specific calling out, and I don't see her in the audience, but Kate Brown. Kate Brown got behind this project when no one else did. And I think it was really a chance meeting with Bob Plame over lunch. This had to be 2012, in the summer of 2012. Kate Brown got behind this project and was remarkable. I can guarantee you we would not be here today without Kate Brown. She did a number of things for us. She introduced me to a couple of people, and you know, a lot of people say, well, you ought to call so-and-so, use my name. I can guarantee you that doesn't work. What Kate did is set up meetings, and she actually attended these meetings. And the first guy she introduced me to was a guy named Dick Withnell. Dick is the guy you want with you in a foxhole, I can guarantee you. He is the most go-to, get-it-done guy I've ever met. It's been my honor and privilege, Dick, to meet you, and thank you so much for all you've done for us. Same with Rick and Richard Parker. Again, this is a meeting that Kate not only said, call these guys using my name, she set up the meeting. These guys ended up being tremendous supporters of ours. We appreciate it very much. It's Rick and Richard, and their father and grandfather respectively was a World War II fighter ace in Europe. Again, I'd like to thank the members of the Oregon legislature. They were instrumental in giving us some significant initial funding. Nicole Palmatier, who may not be with us now, was instrumental in helping us get that funding, and that was just significant in helping us get this ball rolling. Also, the Larry Epping family. Now Larry is a 92 or 93-year-old veteran that helped us cut the ribbon, and he was not able to navigate the steps, or he got kind of tired, so his family took him home. But that family foundation did tremendous and stepped up very early on. And if any of you have been in the fundraising world, this is my first time, it will be my last. It's very difficult early on, and these folks stepped up. The people at the Murdoch Trust, Chuck Ferguson was instrumental in making that happen. The folks at the Murdoch Trust were significant to us. Grover Simmons. I met Grover in December of 2012. I gave a presentation before one of the Veterans Affairs committees, and I'm going down from one room to the other to give another presentation. This guy grabs me on the sleeve and he says, "I'm Grover Simmons, I want to help." Well, this guy helped a ton. And among other things, he got us dialed into the Elks organization. And the Elks organization, and I'm here to honor, boy, all of them. Randy Spikes, if you're here, and anyone else that's here from the Elks. What these folks did, among other things, is they designed a lapel pin. This lapel pin that I'm wearing, and they had thousands of them made, sold them for $10 each, and delivered us a check for over $23,000. There's a lot of lapel pins in Oregon, I gotta tell you, and we do thank the Elks of Oregon. Phyllis and Ed Thiemann. Phyllis, I love you to death. You know, when times are tough, no one's returning your calls. Phyllis was there to provide a lot of energy, a lot of support, a lot of help, and they were behind this thing from the get-go. No questions asked from the get-go. Phyllis, thank you very much. Ted Lister, not my one Republican friend, but a Republican friend.
Nice try.
Ted is a terrific guy, and he has been behind this from day one, helped us financially, helped us emotionally, with leadership. He has been absolutely terrific. Ted Wheeler, Ted's here, the Wheeler Foundation. Ted was absolutely instrumental, a marvelous help to us. And again, we would not be here without Ted, and I appreciate that very much. John Runyon, where's John? John's been a friend of mine since we built floats at the Canoe Fete in the University of Oregon in 1966. And John has been a friend, mentor, and advisor of mine for all those intervening years. As a history buff, and ended up being a significant contributor to this project. And John, I thank you very much. Christine Gotch and Kristen Siefken are folks that cannot be here. They were introduced to me iteratively through Phyllis. These folks helped us with our PR, with our marketing, with energy. When there was a lack of energy, I have to tell you, they helped move the ball rolling, and I'm very, very appreciative of their efforts. The same with Rob Charlton and Cliff Engel. Did a lot of pro bono marketing for us that really got the word out, statewide media campaign, TV, radio, newspaper. It was remarkable, and Rob, we thank you very much. Mary Stern. I haven't seen Mary today in the audience. Mary is the Yamhill County Commissioner. I met her, I want to say in April of 2013. I gave a presentation at the Kiwanis in McMinnville. And in the audience was a woman named Mary Stern, and she came up to me and wouldn't let me go and said, "I'm so excited about this, I want you to speak to the Yamhill County Commission." Turns out she's also president of the Association of Oregon Counties. So with her leverage, we got letters out to every county in the state of Oregon, and I understand a lot of them are really struggling. Nevertheless, we got $36,000 in donations ranging from $500 to $10,000 from our counties, and that's because of Mary Stern. Leonard Dubois. Leonard's our pro bono legal counsel and a great friend and advisor of the organization. Leonard, we thank you very much. I want to particularly thank two folks that worked tirelessly for us throughout this entire process, from the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, Mike Gallagher and Nicole Hoff. These folks These folks did more than you can ever imagine on the staff side of helping getting work done, getting press releases out, getting the work done that never gets the recognition it deserves. And we owe a great debt of thanks to Nicole and to Mike. Thank you both very much. Just a couple other comments. I do want to thank all of our donors, and I want everybody here to know that we received donations from across the state ranging from $1 to $250,000. We had checks for $5, for $10, for $20, for $15. One check had a nice note in perfect penmanship, and it said, "Thank you from all of us who still remember World War II." Very emotional. So I think this project, in fact I know this project, resonated across a broad spectrum of Oregonians, rich and poor, Republican, Democrat, rural and urban. And as Dick Withnell said, this is something the D's and the R's get together under the same tent. And I'd like to end by saying, and I hope that when the next legislative impasse comes, that the D's and the R's walk out to that memorial, sit in that bench, and understand what it took to get together to solve a common goal. I thank you very much for your time, for your energy, for your love of this project. Thank you.
Jim, I'd just like to add that the poems are on the counter back there at the information counter, so.
Okay,
anybody
great.
who wants one.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. As pointed out to you, the project manager, or some people call him the construction manager, was Bob Plame. And Bob Plame wants to come forward now, and of course I want you to know him and meet him and acknowledge his very hard work, but he'd also like to acknowledge some people. This is our construction project manager, Bob Plame.
When we put together a memorial like this, it takes many people. And we think about them here, the legislators, the people with ideas and whatever. But after it's all said and done, it really takes people to dig, and I couldn't get the legislators out there to help me. So I do want to acknowledge people who contributed their time and energy and effort for us, and without them, I could not have built this memorial. And the first one is OTEC Engineers. They donated all their time, and I was adamant this thing will not fall over. I just happened to be in the Christchurch earthquake. All the statues fell over while I was there, and I said, it will not happen. This thing will not fall over. We had geotech people who donated their time. We had just hundreds of people who came together to make this work that actually did the work. And one of them I want to single out is Daryl Fleck over there, Emerald Valley Construction. Daryl was the guy on the ground who kept me out of trouble. Constantly saying, you can't do that, Bob. And I thank you for that. But he came up with some great suggestions to make it better, and he filled in a lot of areas that I just didn't have the manpower to get done. Thank you, Daryl. Tim over there, who we've already talked about, Tim was next to me in making so many decisions. Unfortunately, we thought alike, but many times he told me, you can't do that, Bob. and I appreciate all the input you gave, Tim, and your tireless effort above and beyond the duty. We also have Park and Recreation, who stepped up at the end when I really needed help. That memorial looks nice and clean. You didn't see it 2 days ago. It looked a mess. It had junk and paper and dirt and dust and landscaping issues, and they came in and helped me spruce it up for this dedication day. There are a lot of other people too that you forget about who actually do the work. And I don't take away from all the guys with great ideas, but they carried the dirt, they moved the stone, they made it happen, and they were grateful. And one other one, Campbell Crane, who took a 20-ton, 33-foot solid granite obelisk, lifted it upright, and set it so precisely without a hitch If anybody was here who saw that, they realized this was a feat. They didn't mar it at all. Thank you, Campbell Crane. And all the others who I'm not probably mentioning, I do want to thank them because they made it happen. So thank you all.
You know, I was bound to forget somebody, and I did. Mike Ashland. Mike did an amazing job for us in a number of respects. And he was our webmaster and did all the web work and all the technical side. But more importantly, pretty early on in this process, provided some leadership that was very key, that really got the ball moving for us. And I want to really acknowledge Mike Ashland.
Well, on behalf of the Foundation Board, I'd like to thank all of you for coming this afternoon. And you may think that we are done now with Oregon's World War II Memorial. Nothing could be further from the truth. So you may say, well, what else is there left to do? What's left to do is to bring your children, your grandchildren, and perhaps even your great-grandchildren to this memorial with their iPads, with their iPhones, and have them understand the sacrifice of an entire generation of Americans, both in uniform and at home, when we all pulled together to create, as Representative McLean said, this republic where we are free to elect those we wish, to worship or not in the way we wish, and to travel wherever we want to go. And I'll demonstrate by telling you this. I had a friend who told me one day, you know, this year I'm going to Keokuk, Iowa for 2 weeks. I said, why in God's name would you go to Keokuk, Iowa? Well, it turned out his family was there. I didn't know that. I didn't want to embarrass him. But my point is, you don't check with anybody. You don't check at the border. You don't call ahead. You just show up in Keokuk and they're damn glad to see you. So I'm not telling you to go to Iowa, but I am telling you the best thing you can do is spread the word about this beautiful memorial and make sure, especially the next generations, understand that service and sacrifice by these wonderful, wonderful people you saw today. Sadly, this may be the last major gathering of Oregon's World War II veterans. So count yourself lucky that you were here to see them. They are, in my opinion, a national treasure. And we dedicated a memorial to preserve that treasure today. Thank you very much.